Tiruchitrambalam Nama Parvati Pataye Har Har Mahadeva. First of all, let me tell you the misconception and misunderstanding of the caste system. A point to note here is the word caste did not originate from any of the Indian languages. The word caste comes from the Portuguese word casta, which is defined as any class or group of people who inherit exclusive privileges or are perceived as socially distinct. If one has well read the Vedas, one will realize that there is no mention of such term in our holy scriptures. Hence, SanAtana Dharma did not initiate and or propagate the caste system that we currently perceive in the modern society. So, where did this come from? It came from the Western invaders when they invaded India. Then comes the next question. So, why are some called as Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Sudras? Was that also brought by the Western invaders? The answer is no. Those are referring to the Varnas, originated from the ancient Hindu culture. So, how are the Varnas different from the caste system that we practice today? Varnas are non-hereditary. It is acquired through the attempts and progression one makes by studying the holy scriptures and denotes the level of self-realization that one subsequently attains. The Abrahamic religions refer to the God as an entity external to oneself. They say the God is in heaven, and when they call upon the divine power, they look up at the sky. However, in SanAtana Dharma, the journey towards realizing the God is to travel inwards, within ourselves. All the Vedantas, although differ in their philosophy about the relationship between oneself, that is the Atman, with the God who is Paramatma, but all the Vedantas have the same fundamental underlying ideology that self-realization is the realization of the supreme power, Paramatma, which is not external but internal within oneself. Hence, through the Vedantas, one associates himself or herself to, one progresses through the phases by getting initiated by a guru, understanding the scriptures through spiritual practices, adopting to the way of life prescribed, and so on. The journey inwards is a long journey for oneself across multiple births and deaths depending on the karmas, and it goes a long, long way towards self-realization. By overcoming the mummalas, or the three unwanted aspects, namely Anavam, ego, Kanmam, the actions and the effects, and Mayai, delusions. Realizing one's true self, which is not this physical body, rather oneself is the soul that is beyond birth and death. Eventually, this soul attains liberation or moksha. In order to better apprehend the concept of Varna in SanAtana Dharma, it is important for one to first understand the phases and stages one needs to pass through towards self-realization and eventually liberation. Having said that, the Skanda Puranam says, Janmana jayate shudraha karmana dvija uchyade, meaning by birth one is Shudraha, but through karma one becomes a Dvijaha. So Shudraha is the unknowledgeable or ignorant one. Dvijaha is the knowledgeable self. Dvija means born again. But this second birth is not the physical one, rather it is a change in one's mind and soul. It is called as the inner change. So when we transform internally, then we become Dvija, means born the second time. What do we mean by Shudraha? Shudraha is defined as Prakrita Purushaha. Prakrita Purushaha means one who lives according to his own nature and instincts. There is no understanding of the Vedas, civilization, humanity. There is no moral values or discipline, and so on. For illustration purposes, we term it as an animal man. In SanAtana Dharma, it allows a man to remain Prakrita Purushaha for some time, but one should not remain to be a Shudraha or Prakrita Purushaha forever. So, one can be a Shudra until one's intellect is sufficiently developed. Then the person enters the second stage called a Dvijaha. Dvijaha means second birth or being born again. Here it does not refer to being born the second time physically, but rather it is a change in one's mind and soul, more of an inner transformation. Hence now one can understand why I kept emphasizing that Sanatana Dharma is to seek divinity inside oneself and not on the outside. So what transforms a Prakrita Purushaha to a Samskrita Purushaha, meaning animal man transforming into a human? It is through karma or actions. Here refers to the disciplined action, refined behavior, cultured contacts, and so on. How does one acquire these disciplines and refined characteristics? It is through acquiring knowledge. Here mainly referring to spiritual knowledge through studying the holy scriptures, Tirumurais, and so on. Now, once again, Janmana jayate shutraha karmana dvija uchyade, and the next line says Veda pathena viprasyadu, meaning through acquiring the Vedic knowledge one becomes wise, vibra. And finally, Brahmano Brahma Vedanad, meaning by knowing Brahman one becomes a Brahmana or Brahmin. So when we call someone a Brahmin, it means he who knows Brahman. Now it is crystal clear that The Varnas are non-hereditary, and it refers to the phases one goes through in order to become a Brahmin. However, in today's world, Brahminism is referred to as the highest level in the caste system. The untouchables or Shudras are known as the lowest in the caste system and is regarded as hereditary, which is clearly a misconception and misunderstanding. Based on the Vedic teachings, it is evident that progression from the Shudraha to the Brahmanaha is through acquiring knowledge by discipline and through spiritual practices. In this context, being merely born to parents who are Brahmins does not and will not qualify one to be a Brahmin. Take a diamond for instance, it undergoes certain procedures to become the presentable final product. Likewise, human beings. As we start acquiring Vedic knowledge, attaining self-realization, one starts to appreciate that soul or Atman is indifferent from one physical body to another. The Brahman or Paramatma that dwells in all is the same one God, and that all living beings are to be respected and loved. That goes to say, one refrains from slaughtering to feed, and hence Brahmins are vegetarians. Progressing through the Trigunas, namely Tamasic, Rajasic, and finally Sattvic, and develops self-control, disciplines, and eventually spirituality. Tamasic guna refers to the ignorant state of living, where there are no dharma or righteous way of living. Rajasic guna refers to the stage where dharma being followed, but somehow there is selfishness and self-pride and self-gains are prioritized. Sattvic being the highest stage where one lives with discipline, highest codes of conduct, and serves selflessly. So to move up the ladder of Trigunas, one acquires knowledge, then inculcating the values as the way of life, and finally achieving self-realization to be called as a Brahmin. Just as a further argument that Varnas do not denote the present day caste system, we have a prominent ruler called King Kaushika. He was a Kshatriya who became a Brahma Rishi or a Brahmin and was called as Vishwamitra. He was the author of most of Mandala 3 of the Rig Veda, including the infamous Gayatri Mantra. Also, we have King Ravana, who was born to sage Vishrava, and Ravana was the grandson of Pulastya Rishi. From this, we know that Ravana belonged to the Brahmin lineage, who became a ruler, which made him a Kshatriya. From these instances, we get to know that Varna is non-hereditary, but rather progression or regression of one's spirituality and the three gunas. The Chadurvarnas, meaning the four Varnas, namely Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Brahmana, goes to denote the level of spirituality and the current stage of one's guna. Shudras are the lowest among the four and denotes the workforce or laborers. Vaishyas are the businessmen who play a great role in developing the country's economy, mostly the employers, and they acquire great wealth. The Kshatriyas are the rulers and those who are associated with the kingdom. They are the decision makers and rule the country as per the Rajya Dharma. The Brahmins are the knowledgeable ones. They act as advisors to the king, bringing a balance in the society. They are mostly scholars. Hence, although we see that the Varnas are defined by occupation and societal status, however, this does not discriminate one. The ancient society defined the Varnas based on their roles in the society to create a balance, and everyone knew what their roles and responsibilities are. However, through wisdom and self-realization, one could progress through the Varnas. Taking Vedavyasa for an instance, Vedavyasa, who classified the Vedas and wrote the Mahabharatam, was actually born to a tribal fisherman lady called Satyavati. Hence, it is more and more notable that the ancient society encouraged one to know the Paramatman regardless of the hereditary and to progress through the three gunas, ultimately becoming sattvic and elevated towards liberation. With that note, I wish to share one hymn from Tirumurai 6, rendered by Tirunavukkarasar. Tiruchitrambalam. சங்கநிதி பதுமநிதி இரண்டும் தந்து தரணியோடு வாணாளத் தருவரேனும். சங்கநிதி பதுமநிதி இரண்டும் தந்து தரணியோடு வாணாளத் தருவரேனும். மங்குவார் அவர் செல்வம் மதிப்போமல்லோம் மாதேவர்க்கே காந்தர் அல்லராகில். மங்குவார் அவர் செல்வம் மதிப்போம் அல்லோம் மாதேவர்க்கே காந்தர் அல்லராகில். அங்கமெல்லாம் குறைந்தழுகு தொழுநோயராய் ஆவுரித்து தின்றுழலும் புலையரேனும். அங்கமெல்லாம் குறைந்தழுகு தொழுநோயராய் ஆவுரித்து தின்றுழலும் புலையரேனும். கங்கைவார் சடைகரத்தார் அன்பராகில் அவர் கண்டிர் நாம் வணங்கும் கடவுளாரே. கங்கைவாள் சடைகரத்தார் அன்பராகில் அவர் கண்டிர் நாம் வணங்கும் கடவுளாரே. Tiruchitrambalam. Meaning, even if one has great wealth by possession of the Sanganidhi and Padumanidhi, regarded as Kubera, and he who rules the entire earth and heaven with high regards, although the wealth and fame will eventually disappear, we will not consider them worthy if they are not devoted to Mahadeva, here signifying Lord Shiva. The one who has rotting skin all over the body, looking eerie and has contagious diseases, even called the Pulayar, who slaughters the cows and eats the flesh as meat, if he is devoted to the one who conceals the flowing Ganga on his matted hair, it is them whom we adore as our God. Hence, we learn that our teaching does not propagate discrimination towards living beings. We care and love each other, appreciating that the Almighty dwells in all. When we say Namaskaram, Namaste or Vanakkam, with folded hands, we acknowledge and bow down to the Lord that resides in each and every one of us. Likewise, we do not consume other living beings by killing them to fill our hunger, acknowledging that Shiva we worship resides in all the living beings, and the entities in this universe are all Sivamayam. We nurture our intellect with Vedic teachings and progress through the phases of Varnas and three gunas. We acknowledge that each and every individual are progressing in this journey at different pace, and we are all currently in different stages. Ultimately, we all arrive at the final destination, that is Jivan Mukti. தென்னாடுடைய சிவனே போற்றி, எந்நாட்டவர்க்கும் இறைவா போற்றி. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம்.